Hi, my name is Joanna Whitney. I am an intuitive artist and a student of natural law, and I'm studying the formal consensus book to help groups learn to get along and create freedom amongst groups of people who are individually sovereign. And I was going through the generic principles last time, and I said I was through it, and I was going to start talking about the uh, generic set of bylaws for a group, but I just blew by this one principle and it's been eating my lunch ever since. So I decided to do an addendum video for this one principle, which is on page 55 of the formal consensus book. It says, stewards of the earth and all her relations. So this is based on the following is a list of words and phrases from the vision statement. Each needs to be defined in 2 or 3 paragraphs or more by the membership. This would be a living document, meaning the definitions would evolve over time to more accurately reflect the intent and consent of the group. So one of these principles that they're suggesting is that we be stewards of the earth and all her relations. I just blew by that because it just was so overwhelming to me. And I don't really know that I've seen that being taken seriously by us as groups. But philosophically, I think it's like one of the most important ideas. It's very easy right now to look around, and especially where I live, just north of Suncor, in an intensely polluted area, and think it's all dead. Why bother? Nature's dead. Um, and why bother trying to fix it? Because it seems as if the powers that should not be are killing the earth as fast as possible under the guise of climate change. And there's nothing that we can do to stop it, apparently, because it's just happening so quickly all around us. So the easy way out of that would be to tell myself that I just ignore it. I'm just going to ignore it. And, there's nothing I can do about it. And so I'm just going to ignore it. But that's actually false. Because I, as one person, I I only have myself to be the responsible party. I can't look at what other people are doing and say, well, just because it looks like it's totally gone and lost, that I can just do whatever I want and ignore it. I have to act as if I have the power to change it, because I do have the power to change it. And it's just that I may not be able to see that power in action. I have to have faith that I do have that power. So how would groups be the stewards of the earth and all her relations in our actions is just something that um, I feel like I really need to remark on and not just blow by. So what came up this week as a result of having this floating through my head was that I did tell a bunch of people about ways to contact nature spirits for assistance, which is something I've been doing for many years. And I was originally inspired to do it from a book by Michelle Small Wright called The Medical Assistance Program, where she shows you how to ask nature spirits to assist you in your healing. And then she shows other methods, other ways to use that force for projects. And the way that I've used it the most is when we've had what you would call pests, like a wasp's nest or squirrels or ants. I've used this process, and it works. It has worked amazingly, and I've had miraculous experiences with it, where I've gotten to the point where now when I go outside, I talk to plants, I talk to trees, I hug trees. Yes, I'm a tree hugger, but I talk to nature. I actually just go outside and talk to nature, and I've had amazing, miraculous experiences. And so I ended up writing a document, which I will include in the description below if anybody's interested in starting to include nature in my decision-making process and trying to think about nature in everything I do, because I'm part of nature, so they're trying, that this is a transhumanist time where the powers that try to program us are trying to make me believe that I'm not part of nature, that I'm more a part of what they've created. But actually, I'm more of a part of nature, and I want to remain more a part of nature, and I want to have more respect for nature and think more about nature and get nature's input. And I don't really even want to think of myself as a co-creator in a way, because I don't personally feel like me as a human, or that humans know more than other creatures, other sentient beings here. Because I look at sentient beings, other animals and birds, and I see how they behave, how they don't destroy their environment, how they raise their kids, how they interact with one another. And I see them living in a balanced way on Earth. I could learn from them. And I've learned some techniques over the years that have made it so that I can communicate with animals and know what they're thinking intuitively. And it just requires that I unplug from the matrix in order to do that, which the matrix, it's nice and shiny, and it looks good and sounds good and feels good momentarily, but it promises more than it can deliver in a satanic way. So being a steward of the earth and all her relations is actually, that should be number one on this list. But how to do it? I mean, I could say that just by attempting to find consensus rather than copping out to an individual narcissist or personality or ideology that's not my own, is being a steward. It could lead me to becoming a steward, but there has to be deeper ways to be a steward. I mean, in our group where we are practicing consensus right now, we do actually pray before we start. Sometimes we forget to do that. It's very easy to forget to do it. But we do try to do it, and to try to get that spiritual, intuitive flow in the group, to recognize that we are human and don't know everything, and that there is a force of nature that is intelligent and has all the answers for us. I mean, that's why I use the flower of life symbol behind as my virtual background, because to me that flower of life symbol, which is in nature, it shows the governing principles that are a pattern, like an intelligent pattern in nature that I can rest and rely upon, and I can make use of through prayer and meditation, and through asking for its help. I'm not going to get into specifics of the map coning process. There's books about it, but I wrote a document, like I said, that I will enclose, and I changed it slightly because at this point, I mean, I'm not very trusting of a lot of the channeled information anymore. I've done a lot of research and drawn my own conclusions about human origins and human misconceptions and their origins. And I'm very careful about what I call in. But, that's for each person to decide for themselves. However, I do think it's extremely important for us to consider being stewards of the earth and all her relations. Each one of us has to decide for ourselves what our diet is going to be based on that. What is good for the earth and all her relations, or what we buy, the packaging that we buy, what we do with the packaging. Is it really being recycled? Or is it just being thrown in the ocean? I'm going to actually include an amazing organization called Precious Plastics in the description you guys can look into. For people who have actually taken that seriously, what happens to what we call recycling. I don't think we recycle. We used to send our recycling to China, but I don't think China is accepting our packaging anymore, and I think it's just being dumped in the ocean. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I don't know. Maybe that's another psyop. I have no idea, but all I have to do is look at the side of the road to see what happens to a lot of packaging. Even my front yard has a bunch of shit in it that blew in there from people's trash. So, I just recently learned an amazing healing modality that I'm practicing, and I started to actually ask that the earth, whenever I would release one of these things in this modality, I would ask that Gaia also release with me. Just the concept of that, just the idea that I am part of Gaia. And I'm not talking about Gaia in Boulder County. I'm talking about Gaia Sophia, the spirit of Earth. That she and I are connected, that we are one. And what happens to her happens to me, and what happens to me happens to her. We are, we are a part of each other. So to just try to do things where I consider the earth and all my relations, and how what I'm trying to do will affect the earth and all my relations, even in the face of this extreme destruction that I see. Take chemtrails, for example, that we finally kind of broke into something a little bit about chemtrails and how we could actually fight that, if that's a solution. There are always going to be ways that we can be stewards of the earth and all her relations. And, the way to find that may be through prayer and pausing and waiting for the answer to come. But I think it is a really, really important aspect to what we're doing here, because, since the Industrial Revolution, we have been flagrantly ignoring the earth and all her relations. I mean, everything that we do, like the way we eat, I mean, even if we're all eating, beautiful organic meat and everything, blah, blah, that's all great. But the rest of the country is using these horrible cruelty producing factory farms. And just because I'm not participating in it doesn't mean it's not happening. So, there's theories about that the archons like to have a layer of cruelty vibe that they feed off of, like that they feed off of our fear and cruelty. And there's a whole layer of fear and cruelty surrounding the earth that they're feeding off of. So I don't know. I don't really know how to deal with that except through prayer, because I personally just try not to participate in it, but I know that I'm connected, so I am participating in it. When one suffers, all suffer. So, I just wanted to, reiterate that because it's not something that I've really come up with a full answer to, but I just think it's really important to consider that, especially in the face of what we're up against, because it hasn't been considered for so long. The Native Americans considered it. That's how they lived their lives. They integrated their environment and all of their relations into their lives as spiritual beings. And it almost seems like the goal of the globalist elite, dark Luciferians, was to destroy that. So that's why they came here and destroyed it. I don't know. I mean, these are my theories, but the point is I wanted to just take a moment to consider this. And so I guess what I would say is the way to introduce this idea into our groups would be to take a moment of silence prior to beginning and to ask for assistance from the universe, the creator, and to ask for direction on how to be stewards of the earth and all her relations, and to have that be revealed, to sort of after praying, to not just forget about it, but to continue to think about it, to continue to try to be informed by it, and to try to see solutions where we could consider ourselves stewards of the earth and all her relations.